Hello, my name's Gary Schotten, and I'm so happy to be here with you as a part of Inspiring Better Business. Today I'm going to talk about the subject of extending credit. You might know by now that we make regular calls to what we call peer mentoring groups, and especially in East Africa, and we try to answer those questions, and this is one of those questions that was posed to us that I think is worth answering for many others that might be faced with this. It seems that one person in their group was in the business of making window shades, like these windows behind me might need some shades on them, and it seemed that it was more of a commodity. I don't know if they made them or they bought them and resold them, but a customer came and bought some window shades and then failed to pay for those. And this caused the business to go into deep difficulty and basically was faced with going out of business because of this one amount of money that wasn't paid. So the question was posed, what can we do about that? Well, first of all, we don't want to criticize it anyway, the person that did this, because we've all in business have probably done this in one way or another. And the answer going forward, it's not answering the situation right now, but going forward is to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's kind of like, if we can get the money back, that's great. But if we don't get the money back, you've kind of paid the lesson learned on this subject of extending credit. It's a tough lesson, had a little cost to it. The cost of tuition was a little high, but I bet that person then is much more careful in the future. And that's pretty well the way business works, is that you're learning things as you go, and by making some of the mistakes is how you actually learn the lesson. Well, what should be viewed is several options. When a customer comes in and you don't know them, you don't know their credit history, meaning they walk in, they buy something, and they could buy something using cash, whatever your currency is. I discussed it with this group, and sure enough, at the restaurant, that's pretty well cash. If you buy a meal, you pay at the register or you pay at that time. You don't leave the property without properly paying for the product. And other businesses become different than that, so they let the person walk out the door with the goods in their hands, and they have not paid with a promise to pay in the future. Well, when you're not sure of the person, and certainly if you don't know who the person is, you could say, no, I cannot extend you credit. And then you can ask yourself, well, is it better to have not, you say, well, I lost that business. Yes, you did. Was it better to lose the business with no business, or worse would be to give the product and it goes away and you get no money? You know what the answer is to that. So the answer could be no. For certain, the answer should be well-defined lines of credit, that as that person were extended some level of credit, that it's very clear that this would be paid in a day, be paid in a week. Don't go out too far. Paid on payment plans. Don't get too fancy here, because you're just getting started in business, but it should be very, very clear when that person purchased this on this date, that person that took the goods would pay on a specific time or before. Not conditional upon them getting some money, not conditional when they get some money. No, there's a date and time that you have written down. Now, what if they don't pay then? Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk still a little bit about the right things to do. If you're not sure of the person's credit history, the ability to pay you, then certainly do not give them a big order with no payment. They might want, in this case, some window shades, and say, well, why don't you go ahead and take this window shades for one window, and when you can pay me for that, then I'll give you the window shades for your other windows. And then you create your own credit history with them. They took the goods and they did pay. Still not foolproof, still could come short, but it's better than nothing. Now, in her case, she does not have the money, and she's really due to be paid. I've been in that spot. I've sat in chairs just like this when I had a business that the person owed me money, and I did everything legally and morally right to get paid. And sometimes I got paid and sometimes I didn't. But you have the right to remind them, the right to bill them again, maybe the right to visit them. You see, in the United States, we have credit cards very prevalent. So the company gets paid even if it's from the credit card company. The credit card company either counts her losses or basically does a whole system. It's a whole system of getting paid in the credit. You actually entered, when you become extending credit to any of your customers, you have now entered in one way or another the banking business, because you've given them a loan of the goods until they paid. So there's rules that you need to follow in each country, in each situation, but there's nothing wrong with reminding them. There's nothing wrong with calling them, nothing wrong with asking them. There's nothing wrong with giving some polite pressure. There's nothing wrong with finding out when and how their situation is, and at least learn the lessons. Well, extending credit is not a good way to go. But sometimes it's better to say no and lose the sale. Let the other vendor down the road extend the credit to a bad customer and not yourself, and find yourself better off without the sale. I hope this is helpful. I hope people will understand that we're here to help you inspire better business. And getting paid is better business. Thank you.